Next up, we have Lori Jakiela. Am I saying that right? Like tequila? Okay. Is the author of numerous essay collections and a memoir. Her writing has won numerous awards and been adopted as a common text at Westmoreland Community College. Her latest collection from Roadside Press, Allskate, True Stories from Middle Life, is available now wherever books are sold. Lori continues to see her work published in national publications such as the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Rumpus, and many more. Lori, everybody.
Thank you, Michelle. And I know Michelle, runs the magical Jeep, but she's really the magic. Anybody who works with her knows this. So I'm so grateful to be part of the Roadside family and so grateful to work with you. And here's my book. But I'm not going to read from it if that's okay. But the thing I'm going to read involves Michelle too. So I just got back to writing after, um, I've been obsessed with objects, like the things that you leave behind, not to get morbid, but when you die and somebody's cleaning out your house and they find this stuff and they're like, what the hell is this? Right? I have a friend who has a My Little Pony collection and she lives in New York City. And she really worries, because in New York, anything could happen. And she really worries about what will happen when somebody goes into her apartment and finds her My Little Pony collection. So I've been thinking about objects. And so this is a new essay that I wrote that is going to be in the Literary Underground. So Michelle, thank you so much for that too. It's called The Devil's Haircut. I was in sixth grade when my mother, fed up with the long blonde hair I'd resist brushing, sick of the knots and tangles that grew like nettle-ridden shrubs underneath, took me to Esther. Esther was, in theory, a beautician, which is what people called hairstylists back then, but I never saw credentials. Esther ran her beauty parlor out of the basement of her squat red brick house behind Zare's in Rowville, Pennsylvania. Zare's was like Kmart, but cheaper, and with none of the excitement of Kmart's blue light specials. At Kmart, every hour or so, some manager would hit a button and a blue police light and siren would go off somewhere in the store. The blue light and siren meant there was a hot sale on something, a 2-for-1 run on pantyhose and plastic eggs, half off on jelly shoes in December. I have to tell you something about jelly shoes, just interrupt for a minute. So Taylor Swift has started to wear these again. And if you're of a certain age, you remember jelly shoes. They were like $5 if right? On Blue Light Special. They are $69. And that I think is discounted on evil Amazon. So anyway, I digress. Half off on jelly shoes in December or flannel pajamas in July. Zare's had ices and hot pretzels and bags of stale popcorn for 50 cents. Zare's had bins full of paperback books, their covers torn off, 5 for $1. What magic was that? And that was enough. Esther had a bouffant updo. Her house smelled like hairspray and cigarettes, cans of Aquanet lined up on a shelf like bombs ready to launch. Esther chain smoked, which even as a kid I thought was dangerous, given all that flammable hairspray and whatnot. Esther was my mother's go-to hairdresser for perms, a chemical solution that was also flammable, and I'm sure toxic enough to contribute to the lung cancer that would eventually kill Esther. After an Esther perm, my mother looked like our dog, an adopted white poodle named Tina 2, who was the replacement poodle for Tina 1, a black poodle that died during surgery from choking on a gum wrapper. I want something that looks natural, but make it last, my mother said about the perm she told Esther to curl extra tight. My mother picked at her chemical curls with a plastic afro pick. The pick had a Black Panther raised fist for a handle. My mother carried the fist in the back pocket of her knockoff Calvin Klein's. Philosophers say irony died in America in 2001, but I think it started decades earlier with my mother's hair pick. And so it goes that my suburban Italian American, but culturally appropriating and borderline racist mother took me to Esther to solve my hair problems once and for all. Adopted, I look nothing like most of the people in my family, blonde, green-eyed Irish German in a family of stout Sicilians. My mother was, I think, both proud and annoyed by my difference. She had a lot invested in people thinking I was pretty, which I was, kind of, but in an ordinary way. The kind of pretty my mother wanted required effort, something she didn't expect when, shortly after she adopted me, she entered me in a beautiful baby contest at Sears. My mother dressed me like a lacy layer cake and spit curled the one lock of blonde hair she could gather on top of my round baby head. And I won. Or rather, my mother won. I never won anything, my mother said, before I had you. For the beautiful baby prize, my mother got a museum quality framed portrait of me, her newly acquired offspring. She also got bragging rights and a sweet set of Sears steak knives that would never need sharpening. Anytime company was over for dinner, my mother would whip out the steak knives with the handles that looked like ivory and tell the story. She was so beautiful when we got her from that orphanage, my mother would say. Not a mark on her, just like a little doll. And then she'd look at older, less malleable me and sigh. I had started to grow wild and unmanageable. Willful, my mother called me, which meant ungrateful too. Anything lace itched and gave me a rash. I sulked. I sulked more. I built a cave in my bedroom closet where I kept a flashlight and stacks of my Zayre's bargain bin books that my mother said would give me ideas and hurt my eyes. I made people call me Willow. As in weeping, I said, to prove I was sensitive like that. And there was the hair problem. I refused to brush. I refused brushing. My hair tangled over my shoulders like the sad willow branches I claimed as my lost birthright. That day at Esther's, my mother, who once thought of me as her easy, good luck, pretty charm, had grown tired of my nonsense. Give her a page boy, my mother said. Page boys were popular then. See Dorothy Hamill. A page boy looked like one of those mushroomy haircuts Monty Python's Knights That Say Nyeh wore, sort of Sir Lancelot-y, but if Sir Lancelot wore polyester armor and ate jello salads and said cool a lot. Esther grabbed hold of my ponytail. It was long and thick and hung to my waist. The ponytail was held together with an elastic band shaped like an eternity symbol. The number 8 toppled over on its side with plastic balls on the ends that looked like gumballs or two tiny planets, something to suck on. Esther, cigarette dangling from her mouth, took a giant pair of scissors that could have been kitchen shears and cut my ponytail straight off at the base, just above the band. Then she held it up the way I imagine snake handlers in churches might hold a copperhead. She held it like a trophy, proof of her skill and my mother's terrible faith in it. I did not look like a champion figure skater. I looked like I'd gotten my hair cut in a wood chipper. My mother, mortified, gasped, paid Esther whatever she paid her, and hustled me out. We didn't stop at Zayre's or Kmart. My mother was so embarrassed of me, of what she'd done to the trophy child she always wanted. And at first, I was embarrassed too. I felt exposed. Back home, I thought about those princesses who slept their jewelless perfect sleep, and their hair kept growing and growing until a handsome prince woke them with a kiss, and boom, they were beautiful and alive and worth loving again. I thought maybe I'd sleep like that. I'd already learned how to sleep on family trips from Pittsburgh to Florida, back seat, 20 plus hours in the car, with my parents fighting all the way. I'd sleep myself back to pretty, and I wouldn't disappoint anyone ever again. But then I ran my fingers through my hair. I shook it this way and that. It felt so light, like nothing, like nothing. It felt like feathers, the softest down. Years later, I'd read books beyond what I found at Zayre's. I'd read Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, who would say, I am no bird and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. I'd read Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon. If you want to fly, you got to give up the shit that weighs you down. There are, by the way, no school pictures of me from 6th grade until 9th grade when my hair grew mostly back. But my mother kept that ponytail. She kept it in a plastic baggie in the back of her underwear drawer, like a severed limb, like a monkey's paw. An apology, maybe. Something for me to find years after she died. Thank you.